Okay, I was willing to let one black Humvee following me go, but I stop at the post office and I'm picked up again by the same one. Sorry, but that's just too much of a coincidence. I can't really work the camera real well and drive at the same time, so I'll just try to keep it on him. Let's take him to the power company, see if he'll pay my electric bill for me. There's a good shot of you, buddy. Still think I'm kidding?
Places you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Keep this frequency clear.
And now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute. That powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
You're watching The Truth is Viral, the only news program on the internet trusted to deliver the truth since 2008. And now, here's your host, Mr. Bobby Powell.
Welcome back to The Truth is Viral. I'm your host, Bob Powell. Yeah, I get followed every now and then. It's rather disconcerting, but you know, what am I going to do? I'm obviously on their radar, and a big reason for that is this episode that I published right here. It's arguably the best investigative work that I've ever done. And it's also one of the least viewed of my episodes, and the reason for that is that when I released it, I only had 300 subscribers here on YouTube, and now that number has exploded to near 15,000. That's a heavy armored division, folks, and I depend on you to get this information out there, because I have exclusive information in this episode of The Truth is Viral, coming from a NATO spokesman who told me on the record that the reason that Barack Obama gave for invading Libya, that Muammar Gaddafi was about to gas these innocent protesters, was an absolute lie. And NATO knew it, and they went along with it. So yeah, this is a very explosive episode of The Truth is Viral, and I want to take a second here and ask you to share it. Share it everywhere that you can, because the facts that I reported just days after Muammar Gaddafi's death are just now coming out in the mainstream media. There are facts in this episode that will blow your mind. You wouldn't believe how incredibly powerful you people are. By sharing this information, you are saving lives. The dirt that has gone on in the name of the American people is astonishing. The murders, the innocent lives taken by drone strikes and cluster bombs. My God. I'm a blood and guts Marine, but that violence should be focused. It should be focused at an enemy. What happened in Libya was wrong. And you need to wake your friends and neighbors up to what's going on in their name, because their tax dollars are now being given to the very same Al-Qaeda terrorists, Abdelhakim al-Assadi and Abdelhakim Belhaj, that overthrew Muammar Gaddafi. They're in Syria now, fighting with the Free Syrian Army. It's just a viper's nest of Al-Qaeda terrorists, and your tax dollars are going to support that. We have to stop that, and the only way to do that is for you to share this show. Welcome back to The Truth is Viral. My name is Bob Powell, and this week I'm going to take you on a very strange journey. It starts in Doha, Qatar, and ends in Tripoli, Libya. And let me tell you something, folks. Along the entire way, we've been lied to by every media outlet in the world, practically. If it's a mainstream media outlet, you can pretty much guarantee that they're lying on this one. Because, you know, it seems like they live in opposite land, or maybe we do. Or maybe we're all living in George Orwell's novel 1984, where war is peace, and freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. So yeah, we've been sold a bill of goods. I've never been a big fan of Muammar Gaddafi, but what happened here was wrong. There was no popular revolution in Libya. By and large, the people of Libya had absolutely nothing to complain about. They had the highest standard of living in Africa, and with benefits including $500 a year that comes from oil revenue deposited directly into their bank accounts, a $50,000 gift to newlyweds, a free and compulsory education, equal rights for women and minorities, interest-free loans, free housing. I find it interesting to note here that Gaddafi swore that every Libyan would be housed before his own parents were. His father died before Gaddafi kept that promise, but he was finally able to move his mother into a new home because he had finally housed every other Libyan in the country. And those homes had free electricity. The people that lived in those homes benefited from free universal health care. If they wanted to be a farmer, well, you got a free farm and the seed to go along with it to start you off. And gasoline was 14 cents a gallon, and the government would pay for half the cost of your car. Under Muammar Gaddafi, the literacy rate rose from 10% to 90% during his term in office. In just one generation, he brought knowledge and literacy to an entire country. I don't care who you are, you've got to admire that. And then there's the universal health care. If there was something that wasn't available in Libya and a Libyan citizen needed to have a certain type of health care that wasn't available there, well, the government would ship you off to another country where that treatment was available and that they'd pay for it. There is no denying at least one very popular achievement of the Libyan government. The $33 billion GMMR, the Great Man-Made River Project, which brought water to the desert by building the largest and most expensive irrigation project in history. The GMMR provides 70% of the population with water for drinking and irrigation, and it literally made the desert bloom. Now, I don't know what he was doing, but obviously the man was doing something right, especially when you consider the fact that he was able to do all of this for his people on his own dime. That's right, Libya carried no foreign debt. He used his country's oil wealth to pay for everything and never paid a foreign bank a single penny in interest. The banksters didn't like that. We'll get to that later too. We were told before the Iraq War that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. We were told that we had to intervene or one day he was going to nuke one of our cities. Do you remember that? I remember.
We cannot wait for the final proof. The smoking gun that could come in the form of a mushroom cloud.
Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction, were there?
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere.
Yeah, that President Bush, he just cracks me up. He's a real jolly joker, a real funny guy. I'll touch on that later too. So why did we go to war with Iraq? Bush knew that he was lying about the WMD, so he must have had another reason. I'm putting my money on two reasons. One of them was very personal.
After all, this is the guy that tried to kill my dad at one time.
Yeah, he not only wanted to kill the man that tried to kill his father, he wanted to protect the oil wealth that the Bush family had been building up for many, many years too. Yeah, let's not forget about that. Now, back in 2000, Saddam Hussein had announced that he wanted to start selling his oil in euros instead of dollars, which is the standard currency for OPEC nations that sell their oil. Well, that's where the banksters come in. They just couldn't let that happen because every dollar that's printed comes from the Federal Reserve. Arab nations accept those dollars in payment for their oil, but where do you think that the money is redeposited? Where do the Arabs bank? That's right. They bank at the Federal Reserve Bank in New York.
The United States intervened secretly in 1973 when OPEC was evaluating this proposal to say, please don't do that. And they were talking to Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and say, why don't you sell these in dollars only? And they're working closely with the British on this. And we will, it's sort of a quid pro quo, we will protect you, we will sell you military arms, we'll keep you in power, as long as you keep selling oil in dollars. Even the CIA didn't know about it at first, neither did Congress. But after the fact, it was a fait accompli, it was done. So ever since then, for the last 31 years, the dollars that OPEC gets flows back to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. After the petrodollar recycling system was implemented, 70% of Saudi Arabia's entire wealth was in one account in the Federal Reserve of New York. And that implemented a system where we kept the Saudis in power, they got rich, and we had an unlimited credit card.
I've got to say that's a pretty slick scam that they've got going there. You know, Libya has been on the hit list of the powers that be for a long time. Let's listen to General Wesley Clark.
He said, he pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said, 7 countries in 5 years. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. He was about to show it to me. He said, because I want to talk about it.
Making the same mistake